Few names evoke the romance and terror of the golden age of piracy like Blackbeard. His very name sends shivers down the spine of those who hear it, conjuring up images of a ruthless pirate who ruled the seas with an iron fist. His name alone conjures images of a fierce pirate captain, his dark beard lit by smoldering fuses. This terrifying visage was no accident. Blackbeard carefully crafted his fearsome appearance to strike terror into the hearts of his enemies. Blackbeard's life story is a captivating blend of history and legend. Born in the late 17th century, he emerged during a time when piracy was rampant in the Caribbean and along the American coastlines. His exploits have been the subject of countless books, movies, and folklore, each adding to the mystique surrounding his character. He terrorized the seas for only a few short years, yet he left an unforgettable mark on maritime history. His reign of terror was brief but impactful, as he captured numerous ships and amassed a considerable fortune. His tactics were brutal, but they were also highly effective, making him one of the most feared pirates of his time. Blackbeard's actual name remains a mystery. While many believe he was born Edward Teach or Edward Thatch, the true details of his early life are shrouded in mystery. Some historians suggest he may have been born in Bristol, England, while others argue for a different origin. He is often referred to as Edward Teach or Edward Thatch. Regardless of his true name, his actions spoke louder than any name could. His reputation was built on his ruthless efficiency and his ability to instill fear in both his enemies and his own crew. Regardless of his true identity, his legend looms large. Blackbeard's story has transcended time, becoming a symbol of the lawlessness and adventure that characterized the pirate era. His name is synonymous with the very essence of piracy. He remains a symbol of the lawlessness and adventure of the pirate era. His exploits have inspired countless tales of daring and adventure, capturing the imaginations of people for generations. The image of Blackbeard, with his fearsome appearance and ruthless tactics, continues to be a powerful symbol of the pirate life. Blackbeard's story is not just about plunder and violence. While he was undoubtedly a ruthless pirate, he was also a complex character with a keen understanding of strategy and leadership. His ability to command loyalty from his crew and to outmaneuver his enemies speaks to his intelligence and charisma. He was a shrewd strategist and a charismatic leader. Blackbeard knew that fear was a powerful weapon, and he used it to great effect. His fearsome appearance, combined with his ruthless tactics, made him a formidable opponent. But he also knew when to show mercy, and his ability to balance fear and respect made him a highly effective leader. He understood the power of fear and used it to his advantage. Blackbeard's ability to instill fear in his enemies was one of his greatest strengths. He knew that a terrified enemy was more likely to surrender without a fight, and he used this knowledge to capture numerous ships with minimal resistance. This essay explores the life and times of Blackbeard. By examining the historical context in which he lived, we can gain a better understanding of the man behind the legend. Blackbeard's story is a fascinating blend of fact and fiction, and it continues to captivate audiences to this day. We will delve into the historical context that allowed him to thrive. The early 18th century was a time of great upheaval and opportunity, and Blackbeard was able to take full advantage of the chaos to build his empire. By understanding the world in which he lived, we can better appreciate the impact he had on history and the enduring legacy he left behind. Despite his notoriety, Blackbeard's early life remained shrouded in mystery. We know very little about his origins or upbringing. Historians speculate that he may have been born in Bristol, England around 1680. Some believe he may have been literate and from a wealthy family. However, concrete evidence is scarce. It is likely that Blackbeard deliberately obscured his past. Many pirates were escaping poverty or seeking to reinvent themselves. He may have wanted to distance himself from his former life. What we do know is that Blackbeard likely arrived in the Caribbean as a privateer. Privateers were legal pirates. They were authorized by governments to attack enemy ships during wartime. The War of the Spanish Succession, from 1701 to 1714, created a demand for experienced sailors. Many Blackbeard eventually turned to outright piracy. Blackbeard's rise to notoriety began when he joined the crew of Captain Benjamin Hornigold. Hornigold was a notorious pirate captain operating in the Bahamas. Blackbeard quickly proved himself a skilled sailor and a ruthless fighter. He gained Hornigold's trust and was given command of his own sloop. In 1717, Hornigold accepted a pardon from the governor of the Bahamas. He renounced piracy and urged his crew to do the same. However, Blackbeard refused to give up the pirate life. He took command of Hornigold's former flagship, and embarked on his own reign of terror. There was a powerful vessel. Armed with 40 cannons, it gave Blackbeard a significant advantage in battle. He quickly gained a reputation as one of the most feared pirates in the Caribbean. With the capture of the French slave ship La Concorde, Blackbeard transformed it into his flagship, renaming it the Queen Anne's Revenge. Under his command, Blackbeard embarked on a reign of terror that spread fear throughout the Caribbean and the American colonies. He targeted merchant ships, capturing valuable cargoes of sugar, tobacco, and other goods. Blackbeard's reign of terror lasted only a few short years, but in that time, he amassed a fortune and became a legend. His tactics were ruthless and efficient. Blackbeard would often use the sheer size and firepower of the Queen Anne's Revenge to intimidate his prey into surrendering without a fight. The sight of his massive ship, bristling with cannons and manned by a fearsome crew, was enough to strike terror into the hearts of even the most seasoned sailors. Blackbeard's reputation grew with each successful raid. He became known not just for his brutality, but also for his cunning and strategic mind. He knew how to pick his targets, often going after the most lucrative and least defended ships. His ability to evade capture and outmaneuver his pursuers only added to his legend. One of Blackbeard's most audacious moves was the blockade of Charleston, South Carolina, in 1718. For nearly a week, he held the port hostage. He captured several ships and demanded a chest of medicines in exchange for releasing the captured crews. This daring act demonstrated Blackbeard's ruthlessness and his willingness to challenge even powerful colonial authorities. The blockade of Charleston was a masterstroke of piracy. Blackbeard knew that the port was a vital hub for trade and communication. By blockading it, he not only disrupted commerce but also sent a clear message to the colonial authorities. No one was safe from his reach. The demand for medicines, rather than gold or silver, showed his strategic thinking. He needed supplies to keep his crew healthy and ready for the next raid. This act of defiance against the colonial powers made Blackbeard a hero to some and a villain to others. To the authorities, he was a dangerous criminal who needed to be stopped at all costs. To many of the common people, he was a symbol of resistance against the oppressive colonial rule. The blockade of Charleston cemented Blackbeard's reputation as a formidable adversary. It also made him a target. Colonial governors offered substantial rewards for his capture. The bounty on his head grew larger with each passing day, as the authorities became more desperate to put an end to his reign of terror. The noose was beginning to tighten around the notorious pirate. The colonial authorities launched a relentless pursuit, determined to capture or kill him. Blackbeard's days of freedom were numbered, but his legend would live on long after his death. His story is a testament to the daring and audacity of the golden age of piracy, a time when men like Blackbeard could rise from obscurity to become the most feared and famous pirates in history. Blackbeard understood the power of fear. He cultivated a terrifying appearance that added to his legend. He was a large man with a long, thick black beard. He was said to have braided his beard and tied ribbons into it. Some accounts even claim that he would weave lit fuses into his beard during battle, creating a fearsome spectacle. Beyond his physical appearance, Blackbeard cultivated an image of ruthlessness. He was known to fire his pistols into the air or at his own men to instill fear. He understood that a reputation for unpredictable violence could be as effective as any weapon. While stories of Blackbeard's brutality may be exaggerated, they served his purpose. His fearsome reputation often preceded him. Many captains surrendered their ships without a fight, unwilling to risk facing Blackbeard and his crew in battle. Blackbeard's success as a pirate stemmed not just from his fearsome reputation, but also from his shrewd tactics. He was a skilled sailor and strategist. Blackbeard, whose real name was Edward Teach, knew the seas like the back of his hand. His knowledge of maritime routes and weather patterns gave him an edge over his adversaries. He knew how to exploit the weaknesses of his opponents. By studying the habits and routines of merchant ships, he could predict their movements and plan his attacks with precision. He often targeted ships that were poorly defended or sailing alone. These ships were easy prey, and their crews were often too terrified to put up much of a fight. Blackbeard's reputation alone was enough to make many ships surrender without a single shot being fired. He preferred to avoid lengthy battles, opting instead for surprise and overwhelming force. His strategy was to strike quickly and decisively, leaving his enemies no time to mount a defense. This approach minimized casualties among his own crew and maximized the loot they could seize. Blackbeard also understood the importance of alliances. He knew that no pirate could succeed alone, and he was adept at forming strategic partnerships. He formed partnerships with other pirate captains, sharing loot and information. These alliances were mutually beneficial, allowing the pirates to pool their resources and intelligence. These alliances allowed him to extend his reach and influence. With a network of allies, Blackbeard could coordinate attacks on multiple targets simultaneously, spreading fear and chaos across the seas. He established a base on Ocracoke Island, North Carolina. This strategic location provided a perfect hideout, with its secluded coves and dense forests offering natural protection. This base served as a haven for pirates, a place where they could rest, resupply, and plan their next moves. It was a bustling hub of pirate activity, with ships coming and going, and crews exchanging stories and information. A place to repair ships, ensuring that his fleet was always in top condition. Skilled shipwrights worked tirelessly to keep the vessels seaworthy, making necessary repairs and upgrades, and a safe harbor from the law. The island's remote location made it difficult for colonial authorities to launch surprise attacks, giving Blackbeard and his men a sense of security. Blackbeard's reign of terror couldn't last forever. His growing infamy attracted the attention of powerful enemies. His success made him a target. The more successful he became, the more determined his enemies were to bring him down. Colonial authorities were determined to put an end to his piracy. They launched a concerted effort to hunt him down, deploying naval forces to track his movements and cut off his escape routes. The final showdown was inevitable, and Blackbeard's legendary career would come to a dramatic end.